Hey guys, this is Harv with Harv's Corner. We're going over the Ark Additions mod that adds several new dinosaurs to the Ark, well, creatures to the Ark universe. This is only about 4 or 5 dinos that we're really going to be talking about here in this mod. It's a fairly small mod as far as what it adds, but I love when mod creators create these mods that add just enough to the game to not necessarily make it breaking, to not necessarily make it OP, but just to add a little bit of flavor to it and to add a little bit of abilities that you don't see anywhere else. Now, Ark Additions has a link on the Steam website, and we'll actually be adding that into the description on the video in case you guys are looking for it, but all the creatures that it adds. Now, we're going over this mod, the Ark Additions, the collection mod. That's what we're going to be specifically keying in on. However, the Ark Additions adds, the collection version adds almost all of the dinos that the creator has done. There is a separate one that we'll also go over for the Domination Rex. This one covers a few extra creatures. They have a lot more apparently coming down the road, but we're going to go over just what's available now and what it does, the ins and outs, and how fun it is. So what we're going to go over first is the, I guess you pronounce it Archelon or Archelon. It's a giant sea turtle. Check this dude out. Pretty cool, huh? Very big, very big. Definitely bigger than the regular turtle, the tortoise that we already kind of have in here. This is definitely a sea turtle, more than the actual, the normal turtle that you're used to seeing on the beaches and stuff. He has a lot of cool abilities, some ins and outs. There's definitely some technical stuff to him, but we're going to go over that. Now, right off the bat, the saddle alone carries a lot of people. That's where I'm riding at. You can have several people on this saddle, and they can also fire from the saddle. I always think that's important when I'm going through, especially any sort of review about creatures. One of the big things for creatures for me in the Ark games is if I can shoot from the mount. I love being able to interact and shoot from the mount. Helps me out with a lot of other things. It makes taming a lot easier if you can fire from the mount. Even fighting other people, you can shoot from it. It's one of the things that I always look for when I see mounts in Ark, is whether or not I can fire from. This guy is slower than dirt on the land. See what I'm talking about? You're not gonna win any foot races with this guy. He is made for the water. Oh my god, it's painful. So I'd spawned in a 150, so it came up to a 225, and we could look at the general stats. So I can tell you that they have a lot of health. The melee damage is even with this one having the melee damage as high as it is, the melee damage is it's nothing to write home about. The stamina is pretty good. While it has a decent amount of stamina, it also doesn't go through stamina very quickly. Having its food fairly high is fairly important, and we're going to get on that later on. Also note the weight. The weight on these guys is pretty awesome. This guy can be sea travel, can help you with underwater taming because he can take a hit and you can fire from him. He can also help with carrying resources from point A to point B with the water. So we're going to take him out here 10 years later when he finally gets in the water. Come on, let's go. There we go. All right, so not super fast in the water, kind of slow, right? Here's the sprint. He definitely picks up a lot faster. And you can see the difference in the animation. The fins just are flopping a little bit faster. This guy ascends and descends pretty quickly, and he goes up and down. If you're sitting still, he goes up and down very quickly. So deep sea diving is a possibility with this guy. So we're going to swim around here. What I'm really looking for is a couple of things specifically. A couple of the backdraws to this guy. One, he's slow. He's not very fast. Two, he can't really put out much of a fight. He can take a lot of damage, but he can't really put any real damage out. What he eats. So to tame these guys, it's a passive tame, and you'll see him just wandering around in the ocean, and you just track him down. These guys eat biotoxin. You have to tame them passively with biotoxin that you would get from the jellyfish. Now, there's other ways you can feed these kibble. I've actually tested it, and I don't know if it was made to be that way or if it's just an oversight, but you can actually feed them with kibble. So if you have something like a dodo farm, especially with the new kibble system now, if you just have something as simple as a dodo farm just to pump out kibble really quick, that might be a good option. But if you know where the jellyfish are at, there we go, we got a couple of them right up here. This guy is incredibly good at harvesting these things. So before I get to him, I'm going to let you know, their sting does not affect him. he can sit here and fight these guys all day long. Now you can see I'm killing these guys pretty quick, right? They're dying pretty quick. And you can also see that buff going up in the top right hand corner that looks like biotoxin. The reason for that, and you see the little cloud. So if you're familiar with the Megatherium, the big sloth-looking dude that when he eats bugs he goes on a tangent, gets increased damage and harvests better, the sea turtle does the same thing, but with biotoxin. When he kills a jellyfish, you get a timer that ticks up. You get increased damage, and it's a considerable amount of damage. It definitely makes him more formidable in the once he's done that. You can definitely go out and fight sharks and stuff for the most part, I think. But remind yourself that that timer's only good for a certain amount of time. So he gets damage reduction, and he puts out more damage when he kills a jellyfish for a certain amount of time. The other bonus to this guy is that he harvests biotoxin incredibly better. So we killed, what, 6, maybe 7 of those guys? And I'm sitting at well over 100 biotoxin, which is pretty decent. So this makes your shocking tranquilizer darts a lot more possible to get to. Biotoxin you're not nearly as afraid of it. Jellyfish can't hurt you. They literally can't hurt you. They can do a little bit of damage to you, but the shock factor doesn't affect you, and it doesn't affect the turtle. So that's really what this guy brings to the table. He's a hauler in the water, and he's a biotoxin farmer. So again, nothing game-breaking, but some cool little things that may not be available elsewhere. Appearance, these guys, I think all the creatures in this mod have been done really well. They're sculpted incredibly well. I think they look like they fit right into the Ark universe, just perfectly, I think. You can mate these turtles, you can breed them, everything else that you would expect out of a normal creature in the Ark universe. So again, and a lot of these creatures bring stuff like that to the table. They bring just enough to make them pretty cool. And again, we're going to really get our ass back on land because we're slow, very slow. Having this guy around, I think, is beneficial. Out of this mod, he's definitely one of the ones that I like the most, mainly because not game breaking at all. Really not. Smaller than most hauling dinos that can carry a lot are fairly bigger. Damage isn't good, but he's that biotoxin farmer. Being able to pump out shocking tranquilizer darts, I think, is incredible. So that is the Archelon, or Archelon, the sea turtle. That's what we're going to call him. All right, guys. Next up on the list is the Dino whatever. I'm going to name it Super Croc. Look at that Sheila. She cute. All right. Huge crocodile, right? Huge crocodile. The color patterns are slightly different from what you would expect out of a Sarco or from a Capra. There's usually greens and browns. These use a bit more whites and grays, but you still see the browns in this one, and you will still see the green tones in some of these guys out in the wild too. So she's considerably bigger than a Sarco, right? Scaled a little bit differently. I like it. I think it's cool. I like the big boxy head going on with big jaws, and it seems like it fits, right? It feels like it fits right at home in the Ark universe. So this saddle is a single person saddle. And as you can see, this dude does not. She doesn't move very well on the land. She ain't very fast. This is her sprinting on the land. So in the water, she's considerably faster. Definitely considerably faster in the water. We can take a look at her stats. Now again, I spawned a 225 in. So we see a decent amount of health. Stamina is okay. Weight is okay too. Melee damage. I mean, it's not. I would say it's a Sarco with more health and more damage is what you're looking at. I think so, but you sacrifice that for speed in the water. Sarco is definitely faster in the water. So you see this, I can actually spin and attack much like the post TLC Sarco. That was one of the problems with the Sarco that really plagued him, was the inability to hit stuff that came up from behind him or beside him. This has that same attack where they kind of swing around and attack at the same time. So you don't have to worry about that. And again, you can shoot from the saddle too. So the problem with, flyers that might come after you because of the way your hitbox is up, you don't have to worry about those things either because you can shoot, you can melee, you can do all those things. And the area of attack is a lot bigger with this guy too. So the normal attack that's your primary, and you can direct it whatever way you want to go with it. Now this alternate attack, I believe is it's a Nash bleeding effect. Maybe I can hit the shark real quick. Oh, there it goes. See the bleed effect going on? So it is a bleed effect that goes on these guys. It's definitely not as effective as like an aloe bleed attack or like a giga, but it works. But primarily, the nice thing about this is you can come out of the water and hit somebody with this Gnash attack, and it slows, well, if you don't just kill them outright, it slows them down. So that helps with the not quite as fast as a normal Sarco. So, and then you also have this attack, which is a tail swipe. So if someone's coming up right behind you, you still have an attack to the rear as well. So it solved a lot of the problems with being flanked and being cornered or hit from the side. You have the options to kind of hit full 360 all the way around you. You have the options to hit, all the way around you, which is definitely nice. And the fact that you can fire and melee and things from on top of you makes flyers a bit less of a problem as well if you're using the right weapons. They eat meat. It's pretty cut and dry. Their saddle looks a little weird. It looks like a Sarco skin when you craft it, but it is an actual saddle that you can just slap on there. As you can see, they harvest the hell out of meat, so definitely pretty good for that. But looking at their stats, their health is definitely pretty decent. Their stamina is pretty decent. These guys are stamina hogs, but they regenerate it fairly quickly, so that's not too bad. The weight isn't bad at all, so another hauler that can move goods around for you and do a little bit of deep sea exploration, I think, for you. Movement speed is decent. Like I said, he's not a Sarco, and the no need for oxygen means you have another aquatic dino in your hands that can do some of that deep sea exploring for you. I'd say between the two of them, I mean between him and the tortoise that we went over, I clearly think that the tortoise is more specialized for harvesting and, again, that deep sea exploration, where this guy is more for fighting. That's pretty much what he is. You can breed these. They lay eggs. I like the Sarco in Ark. Sarco is actually one of my favorite tames in Ark. So when I saw this, I was like, I need this in my life, right? And I wasn't, it's not breaking, right? If you're looking for speed and maneuverability, you're going to go with a Sarco as far as that, or even a Baryonyx, really, for as far as water maneuverability. He brings more of a tanky role to that I don't think most of the, amphibians, or not amphibian, but a lot of those aquatic animals didn't have. Unless you're going deep sea and getting like a mosasaur or a plesiosaur or even some megalodons, those were your combat in the water. This changes that. I think this guy is a nice bridge between the two, and again, not needing to worry about oxygen. But yeah, the Dionychus. I can never pronounce them. I can never pronounce them. It always sucks. Alright, so the next couple of guys we have to talk about are aquatic. And there's going to be a couple of them over here in the water, as you can see over my shoulder. This is another one of those names that I'm absolutely going to try. I'm just going to slaughter it if I try to pronounce it. It starts with an X. We'll look at the name. Maybe you all can figure it out. I'm horrible at it. I really am. Like a giant piranha and an anglerfish had an illegitimate child. I imagine it looking like this. So the Zavactinus? Anyway, giant angler piranha looking thing. This is wild looking. I like these guys. Now, we can take a look at their stats. As you can see, health is decent. Stamina's not too bad. Weight, melee damage is high, but I don't think these guys pump out a lot. What you need for these guys, the nice thing about them is that they get the pack bonus. If you see that, we got the +1 over here, and then we also have the alpha over here as well. So that's the one we're going to hop on, and we're going to whistle all, follow. We're going to whistle 19,000 times because we don't know what we're doing. So what we're going to do is go over here and pick on something. So as you can see, they are fast in the water. They're a little crazy in the water, but they're fast in the water. And they take short work of that turtle. Again, we're running around with 225s in here, so it's not too bad. But as you can see, I'm I'm fast in the water. Like, you're going to be able to hit and run with these guys, which I think is really the key, is hit and run with these guys. That's the key. They pump out a lot of damage, but you really want to they pump out a lot of damage quickly if you have the pack bonus. So it's contingent on having the pack bonus. Where'd the other one go? They just like run away and leave, give up. I don't want to play with it anymore. Are you over here? What are you doing over here? Why are you not following me? Oh, there we go. I did a whistle 1, not a whistle all. So they're fast in the water, but you need that pack animal bonus, I believe. On their own, they're not nearly as deadly. One-on-one, not nearly as deadly. You're going to find these deeper in the waters, and they're going to be knockout tames. That's how you're going to tame them. I also didn't go over that with the giant super croc, but the super croc's the same way. So they're knockout tames, and you can just feed them. They eat meat, so you can just feed them meat. Yeah, they're fast. God, they're so fast. They're so freaking fast. Maneuverable as hell too. They have a kind of an odd. I mean, they don't turn quite as sharp as I would have expected, and it doesn't look like they have any other attack other than that bite. But like I said, they're fast. The pack animals. These I think are really good swarm guys. I thought originally these would be perfect if you were taking if you had the sea tortoise and you were taking the sea tortoise out in the water somewhere. I thought it would have been super useful for you then as bodyguards. But yeah, the Zavactinus, whatever I don't know how to fucking pronounce these names. I really don't. Cool little. I think it adds kind of a buffer between like anglerfish. I don't know. I feel like the water didn't have a lot of smaller formidable stuff, right? Oh, I got jellyfish coming here to piss me off too. There we go. I think the deep sea was missing a more of a fighting swarm. I mean, you had the eels, but really the eels, what do? They slow you down. They slow you down so other stuff can kill you. The anglerfish, as soon as you start doing damage to them, they run. So they're really not going to fight you either. These guys are a scrappy little bunch that you're going to find down in the water. And they're going to come after you, and they're going to come after you fast. And again, I mean, these things are pretty quick. And when they gang up on you, that's going to hurt. But I like them. They're kind of like, I don't know, maybe like a raptor of the sea sort of thing. They're not incredibly overpowered, but when you put a bunch of them together, they're going to be kind of ruthless. But yeah, giant, I don't know what I'm going to call these guys. Like stretched out piranhas, no light having anglerfish. I'm not sure. Not sure what to nickname those guys, which is why I sat there and tried to pronounce the name for so long. Next up, we have a big guy, biggin, one of the two biggins. This guy is super cool. This is called the Acro because I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest of it. Look at those teeth. All right, so let's take a look at this dude. So there's the Acrocanthosaurus. Acrocanthosaurus? Sure. I don't know. I got nothing. Again, so she's big. She's tall. It kind of, I mean, it definitely has sort of a T-Rex Giga looking kind of face. It's its own shape, that's for sure. Definitely not something you can, I don't really know what else to compare it to. As far as size, you're looking at definitely a T-Rex size on these guys. All right, we're going to hop on over and check your stats out. Health is obviously awesome. Stamina is pretty high up there. Oxygen, don't go swimming with this guy. Weight, decent for its size. And melee damage, I think, is good. But we are going to... All right, so right off the bat, the saddle is cool. You sit to the side on these guys, not on the front of them behind. There's a reason for that, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So I think this guy is useful in a lot of other places, but primarily a PvP environment is really where they shine, and we'll explain why. So this is sprinting on land. You're pretty good. As you can see, the stamina bar is not going down very far, so not a stamina hog either. Oh, kill it. Kill it. So it looks like you do knockback as well, which is important. I like that. So and you got a pretty wide melee attack. So if you notice, the alternate attack turns the acro sideways. And this is what I wanted to talk about for the PvP stuff. So if you notice, I'm walking slower and I'm walking sideways. And the reason why the saddle is on this side is because when it walks sideways, it takes a reduced damage against turrets and things like that. So in the wild, when these guys start taking damage, you'll see them start walking sideways towards you. And the reason why they're doing it is they can soak up damage and then come eat your face. So it toggles on and off, and he takes a lot less damage that way, which is why the saddle's on that one side. So again, bringing something completely different to the table. And they're pretty tanky, so this could replace, if you're using stegos for turrets to fight other turrets, this could definitely be one of those things. The other interesting attack is this Stomp Attack. So it takes a little while for him to make contact with it, but I want to find something a little bit bigger. to stomp on because it's... the first time I saw one of these guys do this, I saw them do it in the wild, and I about giggled my ass off. They were being crowded with a bunch of, I don't know, I think it might have been Dialos or something like that. Funny to watch, but mainly because I wasn't a part of it. There's a Carno down here. Let's see if it works on a Carno. Oh, there's a couple of things down here to eat on. Okay. So what we got here? Alright, he reels up, and he takes forever, and he stops. Damn it, I wasn't close enough to it. What about now? Oh, I had to poop, sorry. Let's try it again. And stompy stomp. That does a lot of damage. Does a lot of damage. So the stomp does a lot of the stomp does a lot of damage to, you know, pretty big sized guys, but what I want you to see is what it does to the smaller dinos. What it does on see if I can turn around here. Go find something to stomp on. Oh, there's some scorpions over here fighting a stego. This will be good. And bloop. Both scorpions dead. Stego's almost dead. Now, you might think that's just the raw damage output and it's killing the scorpions. The truth is that no, this stomp will instantly kill just about any small dino that you find. Any small dino. It'll just kill it outright. Doesn't matter what level it is, what its health is. Parasaur dead. It's not going to take damage, it's just going to die. So the Stomp Attack makes all the little jerks that would normally surround you just pointless. Like, it takes a little while for that stomp to take effect, but once it does, it wrecks. Damage is pretty high. Taming these guys, and you can breed these guys, taming these guys is not easy. So you're definitely getting a lot of cool abilities out of this guy. He pumps out a lot of damage. You have the Stomp Attack. You have a turret soaking up. You have a lot of different features in this guy, but I think they round this out because it's a giant pain in the ass to tame. So the way that this works is you have to hand feed this guy narcotics. Now, it can be biotoxin, could be narcotics, could be narc berries, but you got to put them on your last slot. This thing's going to aggro after you in the wild, and it's going to get pissed off. So as it's getting pissed off at you, periodically it's going to roar, and its mouth is going to go like completely wide. He will scream at you. As soon as he does that, you have to get to his mouth and force feed him narcotics. That's how it works. You just put him in your last slot, and you walk up and feed him. And then you got to run like a bat out of hell, because it's probably not going to do it in one move, and you're going to have to come back. Taming these guys is not easy. It's very, very difficult. But I think the risk and the rewards balance out. So while I think this guy definitely, I'm not going to say he's OP, but I'm not going to say that he's that he isn't. I think he brings some interesting things to the table as far as what you can use him for. I think he's very multi-purpose. I think to an extent he's still kind of easy to kill. They don't swim fast, they have horrible swim speed, and they really don't move all that fast either. So unless you're breeding these things for movement speed, which you're probably not, you're probably breeding these guys for health, stamina, and melee, you can outmaneuver them. They don't turn very well, they don't run very fast. While they're good on stamina, they don't move very quick, so they're easy to outmaneuver. I think that's really the trick around him, which is kind of common with a lot of the bigger animals, that you can kind of outmaneuver them. So that is the Acrocanthosaurus, and I like it for what it is. Me personally, not a huge fan of the larger dinos. There's anything, I think Allos I'm a fan of as far as that size goes, but everything around that general area, I stick to mid-sized animals, tames. I just enjoy them a lot better. They don't take up as much space, so if I want to try to breed them, I don't have to make a giant fortress so I can breed them. But I definitely see where they have their place. The sculpt looks awesome. She looks gorgeous. She looks different too. Like, that's what I like, is that they didn't just take a T-Rex or take an Allo or take a Spino and modify it a little bit. Nah, there's been a lot of work that's went into creating something like this. So the Acrocanthosaurus. Alright, so the next guy we got to talk about here is the Brachiosaurus. Not to be confused with the Brontosaurus. This guy is super, super, super long neck. Really interesting color patterns on these guys. Regardless of the actual color selection, the pattern on here is pretty cool. These have a lot of interesting uses. Mostly gathering, but also a couple of other ones. So you see on the saddle, that's actually where you ride all the way up top. It's not like a Bronto where you ride down here. Also no platform saddle, so you're just riding this thing. Ding, ding, ding. So I'm all the way up top, right? As you can see, this guy, he doesn't move very fast. This is a sprint, so he doesn't move quick at all. Normal attack. This is like a stomp. Let me flip the camera this way so you can kind of see. Yeah, he stomps on his feet. Back leg kick back here. Just kind of kicks the back legs out a little bit. He's very slow, but he does some cool stuff. So he does this. Looks a little weird, right? It's kind of like one of those trick dogs that walks around on their back legs. And when do that, does a stomp attack. So that stomp attack is one of the big features about the Brachiosaurus. That stomp attack that we just did is really made for a PvP environment. It will break any structure. It'll break it. It'll tear it down. It'll tear down metal. It'll tear down metal walls. It'll tear down stone. It'll tear down all that crap. It can damage everything. Now, it doesn't move fast, so of course you got to deal with that. But it's a wrecking ball. I mean, as far as PvP goes. Now, the other option for more of a PvE, and I guess even a PvP technically, is the ability to harvest so much stuff. So that was flint, stone, and that was kind of like an ankle hitting a stone, right? So we're getting a lot of flint, a little bit of the other stuff. All right, go over here to smack his tree. Get a lot of thatch, right? So, and he'll just walk through trees, but the harvesting's good, but what you really have to pay attention to is the ability to switch the harvesting modes. And what you do is you hit the R key, and he toggles from wood to thatch to berries to stone to metal, and then back to wood again. Having those things on will dictate how much of this stuff it actually does harvest. Does get discounts for all of the weights of the big stuff like the wood and the stone and the metal. It does get a weight reduction on some of that, so that's a plus as well. And to look back at its stats, your health is astronomical. Like that's pretty awesome. Stamina is and he will go through stamina quickly, mainly because he can't move fast. So you're always going to be sprinting normally with this thing. Oxygen, this is another one of those that you don't take on a boating trip. Food, not really, doesn't matter that much. This guy eats berries. His weight is decent, but the trick to remember is that because he gets weight reduction on so many other things, that weight can be a little bit deceiving. If you're really just using it for harvesting, you have a lot more room than you normally would. Melee damage is also important. This guy does pump out a lot, and we're only sitting at 100 for movement, so this is what its stock movement speed is. I have mixed feelings about this guy. Me personally, I usually prefer small to mid-sized tames just because it's less room. And while the harvesting ability is amazing, from my perspective, I'm like, well, I could have a beaver, an ankylo, and a dodocuris, and they still take up less space than this guy, and they can still harvest everything. So I don't think it's something that I would use on a regular basis, but the same argument could be made that, well, this guy can protect himself a lot better. That I agree with. When you're out doing the resource gathering, this guy can definitely protect himself a lot better than that. The ability to smash down walls, coupled with like a cryopod, I think it's necessary because you ain't sneaking up on anybody with this guy. They're gonna know you're coming. You're gonna have to eat turrets. So I think maybe if you combined this with the acro that we talked about earlier, you could team those two up, and that could be a pretty effective solution as well. So the Brachiosaurus, taming these guys. So I'm going to go back to that bipedal stance that I showed you. The Brachiosaurus will do this in the wild. If you aggro this thing, it'll come after you, and it will eventually do this. The trick to taming these guys is when it's on its hind legs, you focus all your damage at the hind legs. And if you can do enough damage within enough time, it'll actually just fall over and knock itself out. That's how you knock it out. It's a knockout tame, but that's how you knock it out. The trick is, and this is kind of dangerous, very much like taming the acro, it's very dangerous. When it's up on the hind feet and coming down, you don't want to be anywhere near where it's coming down at. It'll kill you. It'll kill you instantly, and more than likely, whatever you're riding, it dishes out a lot of damage, and it has a pretty good AoE attack. It's kind of intermittent when it'll pop up on its hind legs. You'll do a little bit of damage to it, and it'll eventually hop up and then start walking towards you. And it's pretty obvious that that's when you need to start taking it down. But that's the Brachiosaurus in a nutshell. Again, it has a fit. It has definite pros and cons, so I still think even though being able to demolish metal structures is huge, it's so slow and so big that there's definitely the pros and cons that I think keep it balanced. So I still can't say that this thing is OP. Now, that's dependent on server settings, obviously. Like, if you have dino movement speeds increased or something like that on your server, then, yeah, this guy could be pretty horrible, actually, to fight against. But as it stands with regular, even modified settings, I don't think this guy is anything breaking. But, again, like most of these creatures, I believe that they bring something that no other creature does. The weight reduction, the harvesting ability, that's pretty significant. And the taming of these things isn't easy either. Brachiosaurus, if you're into big, crazy tames that do kind of everything, this is a good fit. All right, so we have one other tame that we're going to show you guys. And we'll wrap this thing up. Alrighty, we got one last big nasty to share with you on this mod. Check out the jaw. Anyway, check out the Domination Rex. This is a really fun tame. Alright, let's put the saddle on him. We can also check the stats out. Of her. I'm sorry, girl. Health, decent. Stamina, pretty good. Oxygen, food, who really cares? Weight, not bad, considering how what the size of it really is, and the melee damage is obviously pretty good. This is, size-wise, somewhere between like a T-Rex and an Allo. As far as like mass, I think he's more of the Allo. I think he's skinnier. He doesn't have the big head that the T-Rex has, which I like. And, you know, we talked about that a couple of times. I prefer usually a smaller size dino. This guy has a couple of cool tricks. Let's play. All right, so it's fast. This is sprinting at just 100% speed, so it's not boosted at all. It's fast. Oh, look, T-Rexes. Damage is pretty good. The attack speed is significant. This thing attacks very fast. It's not like Allosaurus attack speed fast, but this is pretty good. So there's two attacks. You have the bite attack, then you have the claw attack. Now the claw attack seems to have more of an area of effect to it. So if you're getting crowded by a couple of guys, it's usually the way to go as well. The other cool thing is active camo. It's like the rock drake camo. Tell me this isn't awesome. Whoop, toggles on and off just like the normal camo for the rock drake does. I like it. I think it would be silly not to like it. I think it has all sorts of cool little abilities to it oh man, I'm a huge fan of. So it's decent. It's fast. It's very fast. Stamina doesn't go up too terribly. Your stamina recovery, it has the same problem that you see with the Allosaurus, is that it goes through stamina okay, but recovering from a full stamina loss does take a pretty considerable amount of time. But the damage this thing outputs is great. The agility is great. Maneuverability, the speed is great. Carry weight, let's be real, you're not using this guy to haul stuff around. You're using it to kill things. So the weight, for what it is perfectly fine. The other drawback to this guy is that they can't be normally tamed. So what you actually have to do is make an egg for them. So there's a couple different variants of these guys. There's a normal version, which you see me riding. There's a Scorched Earth version. There's an Aberration version, and there's an Extinction version. Now, you have to craft these eggs, which require elements, some artifacts, and a couple other things that are natured to those maps to actually make them, with the exception of the regular one. Like the Scorched Earth one, you'll need, I think it's Alpha Deathworm trophies from Scorched Earth, or not Scorched Earth, from Aberration. You'll need Alpha Basilisk trophies, and they look different to fit the environment. I'm actually a huge fan of the Scorched Earth one. Look kind of has like a desert camo look to it. This guy has a lot of little perks. One, it increases your hypothermal and hypothermic while you're on top of them, so it's going to cool you down or warm you up depending on what you need. It's immune to bleed attacks. So the bleed attack that the Giga does, the bleed attack that the Aloes do, the Dinichus, all of those. Did I actually say one of those names right? Dinichus, is that right? They're immune to a lot of those status effects, so you're never going to have any of those things. And that's one of the big things about the Giga, is that bleed attack that it does. Well, you got a couple of these guys, you might not have to worry about it. So again, that primary bite attack is just your primary damage attack, and it does pretty decent damage. And the other attack is like a pin attack. See how I'm stomping down like that? The purpose is to be able to pin creatures down. And if the pin is successful, I'm trying to get one so I can actually show you exactly how this works. Some Parasaurs over here. Let's try these guys out. There it is. So it pins them and just straight up kills them. This works on just about any of the small creatures. You know, that was a Parasaur, so I mean, it works on quite a lot of creatures. It's part of its Alpha Predator bonuses. The other thing to remember with this guy is that he gets increased damage and damage resistance when he's within range of creatures like boss creatures or raid dinos. All in all, this guy is very versatile. I love the maneuverability. I love the speed. I love that he's not very big. Compared to what he can do, he's really not that big. A lot of cool abilities, active camo. This is a tame that I could get behind. The problem with this is making the eggs for it. So the way you make the eggs it usually requires artifacts. And again, like I said, artifacts, part of whatever's on the map as far as alpha trophies go, depending on the map that you have the mod on, and also element. So obviously this is a little bit better to obtain in Aberration and Extinction than it would be normal maps or Scorched Earth. You know, you're either going to hunt down tech animals or you're going to have to go boss fighting first, unless you got mods to support, unless you got mods to that counteract that. Also note that the Domination Rex mod is separate. All of the other dinos I showed you. Now, if there's just one of those creatures that you want to add to your server, you can just download that specific mod. You can download just one of them. You say, oh, well, I just want the Archaline. Well, you can get just the Archaline and download it. I just want the Brachiosaurus. You can get just the Brachiosaurus. Or you can get the Collections mod, which includes everything except the Domination Rex. The Domination Rex is its own separate mod that you'll have to download to get the Domination Rex in. So definitely be careful of that. I fell victim to it because I wasn't paying attention the first time around I downloaded this mod. I was looking around for the Domination Rex for forever and couldn't figure out why I couldn't have it. Well, that's why. It's a separate mod. But none of these mods are big. I love all these creatures. I think they're sculpted well. They fit into the Ark universe really well. The colors are awesome. The patterns are awesome. They all bring different abilities to the table. I am really excited to see what these mod creators add next. There's definitely a long list of future projects that I think they want to unleash, and I'm very excited for a lot of reasons. Again, I love mods where they don't add just a bunch of broken stuff into it. I want my survival game to at least have some sort of challenge, even when I'm at the end game part of it. These tames, I don't believe, while they are unique and they have cool, unique abilities, which makes them fit into the Ark universe even more, I don't think any of them break the game. I don't think any of them are OP as long as your settings are, if your settings are cranked, your settings are cranked. That's always gonna. If your settings are cranked, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. Anyway. So that's it as far as Ark Additions goes. So if you like what you've seen, please like, please share this out, let other people see it. If you have any questions about the specific tames we went over in here, feel free to shoot something in the comments. If you want to see maybe like an actual how to tame some of these things, shoot a comment in there. We can do a shorter video on that. It won't take very long at all, I wouldn't think. That any of this information is incorrect. You know, maybe I'm doing one of these things wrong. Maybe I missed out on something. Please feel free to correct me. I don't think I did. And again, let me know what you guys think. If you want to see other mods, what other mods you got coming down the road? So far we've done the steampunk mod. We've done this one. I have a couple others that I use on a regular basis that I'm very comfortable with. But if there's a mod that maybe you want to see done, that you want to see a review done, post it up so we can check it out. At the very least, I will definitely check the mod out and see the ins and outs of it. I will tell you ahead of time if it's something like Primal Fear that's going to take me 8 hours to try to go through. I might not be able to do that right away. But any of the other mods, God, you know, the Ark universe is so mod supported. We have so many awesome mods. I could spend from now till 30 years from now probably going over them all in depth. So let me know what you guys think. And again, please like, please share, please comment, subscribe. Get involved. Hit the notifications button. Maybe you guys might want to see the next videos that are coming out. So again, thanks for spending time. Thanks for spending time to watch the video. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time.